If there is one thing that I love most from any great action anime, it would be a good romantic subplot. But you know what I hate the most from any good romantic subplot? Is when it ends in a doomed romance and one of the characters die in the most tragic way possible. That is something I genuinely hate. But don't get me wrong, a good romantic subplot is actually a great way to direct the audience away from the main storyline and give them something else to really care about. And this not only develops the characters involved, but it makes witnessing their story even more exciting. And some great examples of this would be Denji and Reze from the Chainsaw Man movie or David and Lucy from Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Both these shows feature some of the best romantic subplots you will ever find in any action anime. And that is because these two shows are so good at creating stakes or danger. They make the idea of death seem like it is always present in their own fictional worlds, as if the protagonists are forced to live each day of their lives on a tightrope between life and death. So when the anime does introduce a romantic subplot, it gives the protagonists an escape from all the dangerous bullshit they're forced to endure. And when this quote-unquote escape is executed really well, the results just speaks for themselves. The beauty, the emotions that these romantic escapes have is what makes a romantic subplot so freaking enjoyable, and that is what I love about it. Now let me tell you what I hate about it. It's when the anime takes this fantastically well-built romance and drives it 6 feet into the dirt by making sure the characters never end up together. And for Cyberpunk Edge Runners or the Chainsaw Man movie, they achieve this by killing off one protagonist and strategically making sure the other one stays alive, so that they can live the rest of their lives knowing that they lost the only person they ever loved. Like, how fucking cruel is that? But you know what I can't understand about these two shows is, why the fuck do they have to end so tragically? Like, why do we, the viewer, have to sit through an ending where one character has to die and the other one has to live with the gut-wrenching truth that they can never be with the person they loved? Because that is the most cruel experience you can ever offer to your audience. It's like, although the anime was this amazing work of art, the ending was so tragic that it doesn't even make any sense anymore. It doesn't serve any other purpose except inflicting maximum pain onto the viewer, and it's just ultimately stupid. But another reason why I greatly dislike doomed romances is that it's such a cheap way to create shock value for the viewer, which I assume is supposed to leave a more powerful and lasting impression on the audience rather than a romance with a good ending. And perhaps this might be true, but I'll be honest, I think it's still really fucking unnecessary. I truly believe that any action anime can create an amazing story with a beautifully written romantic subplot, even with a happy ending. But you know what? I'm gonna say something crazy, and you might not like the sound of it, but hear me out. What if a doomed romance is actually a good thing? Like, don't get me wrong, it's still very depressing and I don't like that, but what if the lasting impression that the ending of, let's just say, Cyberpunk Edge Runners or the Chainsaw Man movie is what made watching those animes a much more memorable and beloved experience for us? And you might think I'm crazy. I mean, maybe I am, but let me put it to you in this way. When we witness a beloved character die in front of our eyes, we tend to mourn for them. We grieve for them. But we do this simply because we loved that character. We cherished that character so freaking much. Because then again, what is grief if not love persevering? And we as the audience are not the only ones who experience this. It's especially the character who gets to live, like Lucy or Denji, that undergoes these emotions of grieving deeply for the person they had loved so much, but unfortunately lost, which proves that the culmination of love is grief. But to capture this profound theme in an anime is no easy task, but with Cyberpunk Edge Runners and the Chainsaw Man movie, they knocked it out of the damn park. And it was such a powerful and saddening moment to see these beloved characters die and to see the other one having to grieve for their loss. And I believe it teaches us something very meaningful, and it's that life is temporary. Love is temporary. So the idea that something as magnificent as love cannot last forever is what gives it meaning in the first place. But that is also why rewatching either of these animes would feel so much more different than when you first tuned in. Because now you will really get to appreciate the moments that you see David and Lucy together or Denji and Reze, since you now know that all this will never last, making these moments of them together all the more beautiful and heartwarming. And the reason why I say doomed romances might actually be a good thing in anime is because of my own personal experience of rewatching the Chainsaw Man movie. I remembered how depressed and empty I felt when I first saw the ending of the Reze arc. Seeing Reze on the brink of death while bleeding out on the ground was such a gut-wrenching sight that scarred me for days. And seeing how close she was to reaching Denji just killed my soul, man. But when I decided to watch the movie for a second time and I revisited these scenes of Denji and Reze hanging out together and having the time of their lives, these moments took on a whole new meaning for me, and I began cherishing them as much as I could before the unavoidable tragedy happened. Knowing that all this beautiful romance would soon come to an end gave me a powerful reason to value Reze's presence and the time that she spent with Denji. So as a result, I did not take anything for granted because I made sure to cherish the hell out of everything Reze stood for till the very end. But when the time finally came and I witnessed Reze's tragic death for a second time, I was brought to tears at what I saw. But at least now I was able to completely value how significant Reze was, now that she was gone. Since all that stuck with me were those moments of seeing Reze living her happiest life alongside Denji, and all that remained was the joy of seeing both of them together. And to me, that meant everything. So perhaps a doomed romance can actually be a good thing. After all, it captures the essence of what makes love so valuable in the first place, which is the fact that it is merely temporary. And in my opinion, that is pretty damn special. It's gut-wrenching, but goddamn, it still depicts one of the highest forms of love that you can ever write and execute in an anime. And although I will always want and wish for a good ending for the two lovebirds on screen, this paradoxical display of a tragedy giving meaning to love may not be so bad either. I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and if you did, consider subscribing and giving it a like, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Take care.